Will the guests please be seated? Good afternoon, and thank you for attending today's ceremony. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to introduce the 75th Secretary of the Navy, Ray Mabus.
Leader Pelosi, Ambassador Brinker, Mayor Lee, Supervisor Weiner, Paula, Neira, Stuart Milk and Ann Cronenberg, Kevin Falconer, Mayor of San Diego, and so many other distinguished guests here today, and friends of the Navy and the LGBTQ community. Our Navy and Marine Corps uniquely gives to America presence. Being around the globe, around the clock, ensuring stability, deterring adversaries, and giving our leaders options in times of crisis. We're America's away team. We never get a home game. Sailors and Marines are not only in the right place at the right time, they're in the right place all the time. To get that presence, you've got to have gray hulls on the horizon. We've reversed the decline in shipbuilding from 2001 to 2008. In those 7 years, the Navy put 41 ships under contract. I've been in this job for 7 years now. And in the same time, we've contracted for 85 ships. And one of the great privileges and great responsibilities that I have in this job is to name each of these ships. Each class of ship has a naming convention, a theme. So submarines are mostly named for states, littoral combat ships for cities. Destroyers are named for naval heroes and members of Congress and former secretaries of the Navy. Aircraft carriers for presidents, amphibious ships for marine battles. We do this to honor the Navy's history, but to also connect the Navy to America and to the American people. So it's important to remember and honor naval heroes, sailors and Marines who have sacrificed so much for America. That's why I've named 8 ships for Medal of Honor recipients. People like John Finn and Woody Williams, World War II, Thomas Hudner of the Korean War, Barney Barnum and Ralph Johnson from Vietnam, and just this morning at Camp Pendleton, the John Basilone, a gunnery sergeant, who was awarded the Medal of Honor for his actions on Guadalcanal. And then, even though the Marines wanted him to stay in the U.S. as part of the war effort, he went back and fought and died at Iwo Jima. And other ships, like the Rafael Peralta, for the Navy Cross recipient in Iraq, and Lena Higbee, the first woman awarded the Navy Cross during World War I. But it's also important, I think, to recognize and honor those who have fought in a different way and sacrificed, sometimes in the same way by losing their lives. Those who have strived to fulfill the promise laid out in our Constitution to form a more perfect union. Those who have fought for the ideals that we cherish as a nation: justice, equality, freedom. That's why in January, I named the first ship of a new class the John Lewis, after the iconic icon who has dedicated and risked his life for that justice equality, freedom. And the naming convention for that entire class of ship are civil and human rights leaders. Which brings us to the reason we're here today. To name a ship for a person who stood for and was killed for equality, justice, freedom. Harvey Milk. And his career is so well known, but I do want to start with the fact that he came from a Navy family. His father, William, was a submariner. His mother, Minerva, joined the Yeomanettes, a group in World War I who advocated for the inclusion of women in the United States Navy. So he came from a tradition, both of naval service and activism. He became a naval officer, came to San Diego as a diving instructor. After the Navy, he engaged in numerous pursuits and became increasingly active in politics as a pioneer of the gay rights movement. That culminated when he was elected supervisor here, first openly gay person to hold office in California. In the 10 short months he was in office, he sponsored an anti-discrimination bill, he advocated for stronger, safer neighborhoods, and he spoke out on state and national issues of importance to the LGBTQ community, but also of importance to women, to racial and ethnic minorities. And he helped defeat, by a landslide, Proposition 6, an insidious measure seeking to promote an agenda of intolerance and diminishment by appealing to anti-gay rights sentiment. In his words, he said, "We are coming out to fight the lies, the myths, the distortions. We're coming out to tell the truth about gays, for I'm tired of the conspiracy of silence. So I'm going to talk about it." He came out for justice, equality, freedom. Then an assassin tried to silence that voice and to end that fight. But even after death, his voice still spoke, his struggles continued, and his cause taken up by countless others. Harvey Milk pre-recorded a statement in case he was killed. And it said, "If a bullet should enter my brain, let that bullet destroy every closet door." Today, nearly 40 years later, many of those doors have been destroyed. Next month, the military will celebrate the 5th anniversary of the repeal of Don't Ask, Don't Tell. Service members who defended our country but had to lie about who they were are now able to live openly and honestly. Right after the repeal of Don't Ask, Don't Tell, I was in Manaus, Kyrgyzstan. We had a big base there, and everybody coming into Afghanistan or coming out of Afghanistan came through Manaus. And I spoke to a group of 700 or so sailors and Marines, some of whom were coming in, some of whom were leaving. And after the event, a Navy corpsman approached me just to say thank you. He said he was ending his 3rd combat tour. 3 combat tours. And he had been petrified for more than a decade that he'd been in the Navy, that he was going to be found out and asked to leave. Now, how wrong is that? 3 combat tours, and yet his biggest fear was that he was not going to be permitted to serve just because of who he loved. Well, we've got to do more than that. If anyone here or anyone you know was discharged for being a member of the LGBT community, and if they are interested, if you're interested, if you want to, come back and let the Navy take another look at that discharge. I can't take another look on my own. Nobody in the Navy can. But if you ask, and if the service member is gone, is no longer with us, if a family member asks, then we can take another look. And I urge you to do that. So we're doing these things for two main reasons. One is it's the morally right thing to do. But there's another reason. These actions make us a stronger military force. Every time we've opened the military to people who have been kept out for the worst of reasons, we have become stronger. When the military was racially integrated in the late 40s, we became stronger. When we began recruiting women in large numbers, we became stronger. When we opened every combat specialty to women, we became stronger. When we repealed Don't Ask, Don't Tell, we became stronger. When we ended the ban on transgender service, we became stronger. And every time an action like this was taken, every single time, some people opposed it using exactly the same arguments over and over again. Unit morale would go down. People couldn't do it physically. It would make the force weaker. And every single time, those folks were wrong. Every single time. A more diverse force is a stronger force. Diversity in background, diversity in thought, diversity in perspective. Our force should represent and be reflective of the country it defends. How? How can we deny a person who qualifies in every way the honor of helping to defend this country because of the color or shape of their skin or because of who they love? How can we do that? How can we do that? Well, we shouldn't. And now, thankfully, in the military, we don't. One last thing. Every ship has a sponsor or two. They break the bottle of champagne across the bow to christen that ship. But more importantly, they imbue that ship with their personality, their spirit, their character. So the two sponsors for the Harvey Milk are going to be Senator Dianne Feinstein because of her association with Harvey Milk, and Paula Neira, a Navy veteran who could not continue to serve in uniform because of who she is, and who has since been a forceful advocate for the LGBTQ community, and the first Navy veteran to be issued a new DD-214 to correct her gender listed on the form. So, now, it is my privilege to name TAO 206 the USNS Harvey Milk.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Ladies and gentlemen, Congresswoman Nancy Pelosi.
Good afternoon, everyone. It is an honor for each and every one of us to be here on this very special occasion, not only for the Harvey Milk family, but for the United States of America. Aren't we proud? Secretary Mabus, you have been a true patriot in our country, a governor, an ambassador, and now for more than 7 years, the Secretary of the Navy. You honor us with your presence today. Thank you so much for your tremendous leadership and your patriotism. Thank you, Secretary Mabus. There's so many people here who are responsible for bringing this day to fruition. It's really quite remarkable. And to start off with a gay man's chorus singing God Bless America, wasn't that special for all of us as well? Thank you, Ambassador Nancy Brinker, for your courage to be here today. Thank you, and your leadership as part of the Harvey Milk Foundation. Mayor Ed Lee, it's an honor to be here with you. Isn't our city beautiful and as a backdrop for this occasion? And I know you also want to welcome Mayor Falcon from San Diego. Thank you for the role that San Diego played in making today possible as well, Mr. Mayor. Madam Speaker, thank you for what you did in the Assembly of the State of California. And Cronenberg probably knew, apart from the family, Harvey Milk the best. And I also want to recognize Scott Wiener for his resolution contributing to today as well. To our sponsor, congratulations to you. My understanding is that you were responsible for the ship, for the life of the ship, Paula. So thank you for that. Mayor Feinstein couldn't be here. She has a family issue in terms of her husband's health, but she certainly is here in spirit. And she is very excited to be a sponsor of the ship, as well as being a sponsor with Paula and Neira of the ship. Congratulations to you, Paula. Thank you. We're very proud of this vessel, designed to refuel ships at sea, and that it bears Harvey's name. Harvey's energetic fight for justice, his courageous pursuit of equality, his tremendous visionary leadership fueled generations of progress. Harvey came out at a time when being LGBT meant being ostracized. I'm so honored to be here with his nephew, Stuart Milk, and thank you for being a keeper of the flame. His mother, Audrey, could not be here, but she's with us in spirit as well. We all, this is a family affair for us. I'm honored to be here with my daughter, Christine, and my granddaughter, Bella, because we attend any Harvey Milk event. We're so proud. Whether it was Harvey Milk Day, as declared in California, Harvey Milk Stamp, as declared by the United States of America, now the naming of the ship, and hopefully at the christening of the ship pretty soon. But it is something that we take such pride in, because Harvey and John Lewis, for whom this class of ships is named, they made America more American with their sacrifice and their courage. And as the Secretary said, helped us form a more perfect union. For the people of San Francisco, the USNS Harvey Milk is another deeply powerful sign of how far we have come. We've gone from attending 2 funerals a day during the AIDS crisis, right, Jim Hormel, Mr. Ambassador? We were going to funerals 2 a day, now to celebrating marriage. Thanks to the leadership of the LGBT community and the veterans therein, we repealed Don't Ask, Don't Tell, and removed the service ban on our transgender heroes. And I want to acknowledge the role that our President Barack Obama played in all of that. Without his leadership, it would not have happened. We take great pride in passing the legislation in the Congress, but he really led the way in bringing the military community around, the leadership around, to a place that, as the Secretary said, makes us stronger in our defense of our country. Secretary Mabus has led the charge to make our Navy stronger, more inclusive, as he said, but we all recognize that. This is about inclusion. As Stuart said about this ship's naming, Stuart Milk said, Uncle Harvey, that's what Bella calls him, Uncle Harvey. Uncle Harvey's legacy is bigger than San Francisco. It's bigger than the U.S. It's bigger than the LGBT community. It is a legacy of hope and a story of sacrifice for everyone. And my goal, Stuart's goal, has always been to spread that hope and call for visibility, not just across the nation, but around the world. The USNS Harvey Milk, he went on to say, without even having set sail, has already joined us on that journey of hope without qualifications. Hope here in America and hope across the seas. So again, thank you, Secretary Mabus, for your unparalleled leadership. We are indebted to you and all the courageous service members who will protect freedom aboard the USNS Harvey Milk. Harvey poured his energy into being a source of hope. We all saw that, those of us who are of a certain age and knew Harvey very well way back when, right? Harvey gave us hope. Hope for a better world, hope for a better tomorrow. May the brave men and women of the USNS Harvey Milk always have the same hope and strength against the odds as this ship's namesake. Thank you all very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Congresswoman Pelosi. Ladies and gentlemen, the sponsor of USNS Harvey Milk, Ms. Paula Neira.
Good afternoon, Leader Pelosi, Secretary Mabus, Ambassador Brinker, Mayor Lee, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. It's with deep gratitude, pride, and humility that I stand here as a sponsor of this ship. It's a great honor to be the sponsor of any ship in our fleet. But I am forever grateful to Secretary Mabus for giving me the singular privilege and opportunity to sponsor this ship. As I undertake the duties and responsibilities of this billet, I say a prayer that I'm sure has been oft repeated down through naval history. Dear Lord, please don't let me screw this up. For me, as a member of the LGBTQ community, and having served as an officer in the United States Navy, I know that being a sponsor of this ship is not really about me. Rather, I am just the person that's been granted the privilege to represent the lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender patriots who have served our great nation down through the generations, particularly those who have gone to sea, sailed in harm's way, and have forged the rich traditions of our naval service. It's altogether fitting that we gather here today to celebrate naming this ship for Harvey Milk. It's only proper that a ship of the United States Navy is the namesake of a man whose life exemplified the core values of honor, courage, and commitment. His work to advance our nations towards that more perfect union, where all Americans enjoy the blessings of liberty and the promise of freedom, will be remembered wherever the USNS Harvey Milk will sail. The men and women who will one day sail in this ship reflect a nation that embraces the rich diversity of our people, draws strength from inclusion, and honors the service of all who are called to serve. They will take pride in a ship named for a leader who saw the great promise of our country and gave his life in pursuit of making our country a better place for all of us. And any sailor would be proud to sail in a ship like that. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Neira. Ladies and gentlemen, the Mayor of the City and County of San Francisco, Edwin M. Lee.
Thank you, Lieutenant Commander, for that introduction, and to Secretary Mabus, welcome back to San Francisco. And to everyone from out of town who's here for this incredible announcement, as Mayor, I want to welcome you to our beautiful city and to our beautiful Treasure Island. Excuse the construction. I want to also acknowledge Stuart Milk, Harvey's nephew, and Ann Cronenberg, Harvey's former aide, as a member of the Board of Supervisors here today on behalf of the Milk Foundation. I also want to recognize one of our own, local supervisor Scott Weiner, who represents Harvey's district, in which I get to have the privilege of living. And it was Scott who in 2012 authored the resolution urging the Navy to do what we are announcing with great pride and joy today. Ladies and gentlemen, Leader Pelosi, Lieutenant Neira, the Secretary have already highlighted the profound significance of this day and the naming, so I'll be brief. San Francisco has always been a place that has attracted new people and new ideas. A place of innovation for industry, art, culture, and of course, social justice. Harvey Milk, like so many who came before and after him, came to San Francisco because here he could live his life more freely here than any other place in the world at the time. And in doing so, his profile and courage changed the world and inspired generations. I don't believe that I would have had the privilege of being the mayor of San Francisco without his sacrifice. And it cost him. A man who served his country and our beloved city so honorably, it cost his life. And we mourn his loss, but we celebrate and we give thanks to the great gift that was his life. And though we come a long way from the nation that Harvey knew, we all know our work for full equality and acceptance, not just in law, but in hearts and minds, is not yet done. Mr. Secretary, your announcement today that a United States naval ship will forever bear the name of USNS Harvey Milk is part of the legacy of Harvey's unfinished work. And it tells sailors from every part of our nation and every port of call what we know, that Harvey Milk was a great American who belongs in that great pantheon of civil rights leaders for our country. We are grateful, we're thrilled, we are proud for the Milk family, for the foundation, and certainly for our city. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Lee. Ladies and gentlemen, Ambassador Nancy Brinker.
Thank you very much, Lieutenant Commander. And friends, let's give very grateful thanks today to Secretary Mabus, to Leader Pelosi, Mayor Edwin Lee, to the sponsors, to Stuart Milk, to everyone who has been so involved in this effort. Thank you so much. Thank you. I am thrilled and honored to be here today. My son Eric, daughter Brenda, and I watched the movie Milk together again to refresh our memories of the signature moments of Harvey's life and leadership. and the movement he led. And one of the most moving scenes, of course, is in the end, when 30,000 people gathered with lit candles to eloquently honor the life of this enormously important advocate and leader of the LGBTQ movement. It reminded me of the famous quote that our former First Lady Eleanor Roosevelt often used: "It is better to light one candle than to curse the darkness." Harvey Milk did something that few people ever do. He started a movement that changed the nation. His legacy lives on through the great work being done by the Harvey Milk Foundation and his nephew Stuart Milk and Ann Cronenberg and others who accepted, Stuart and I accepted at the same time, the Presidential Medal of Freedom. He, on Harvey's behalf, posthumously in 2009, the same year that I humbly received the same award for my work building Susan G. Komen. As some of you may know, I made a promise to my sister Susie in 1978, actually the year Harvey died, that I would eradicate the silence and stigma of breast cancer, not just in the U.S., but globally, while paving the way for a cure. Meeting Stuart that day was a natural phenomenon and changed my life. It gave me yet another new cause to pursue: achieving equal rights for the LGBTQ community in our nation and across the world. And it's an honor, Stuart, to serve in an advisory role in the incredible Harvey Milk Foundation that is supporting visibility on all corners of the globe, doing so with strong grace and successful efficacy. And I do so not just as a former U.S. ambassador, but as a proud American, and as a proud mother of my incredible son, Eric, who is here today with us, and is himself a wonderful, openly gay philanthropist and LGBTQ advocate who firmly believes in inclusion, not exclusion. Eric and I have been privileged to be part of many of the enormously effective events done by the Milk Foundation in the U.S. and abroad, from the U.S. Embassy in Budapest to the News Museum in D.C. We stand together with Harvey's dream of equality for all. The foundation has taken Harvey's name and story across the globe, working successfully on the ground with struggling and emerging LGBTQ communities on 6 continents. And now the USNS Harvey Milk will join LGBT work and centers named after Harvey, from Asuncion, Paraguay to Verona, Italy. In breaking news, you are the first to hear today of the newest LGBT center named after Harvey in Vilnius, Lithuania. Another historic addition to Harvey's legacy resulting from the foundation's on-the-ground work in the Baltic nations. And the USNS Harvey Milk will send a message of hope, along with streets and parks named for Harvey's courage, his authenticity, and his vision. From Salt Lake City to Cambridge, England to San Diego, led by a stellar team of professionals who have all worked and partnered on groundbreaking events with the White House, the U.S. State Department, the European Union, the United Nations, key stakeholders around the world, and now today, proudly, with the U.S. Navy. As we join together here and join Secretary Mabus in making history once again, we say thank you. As we said last year when the Foundation produced an event that hosted all 6 currently serving openly LGBT United States ambassadors for a historic televised conversation on global acceptance that was watched live around the world, hope will never be silent anywhere across the globe. Certainly the USNS Harvey Milk will telegraph that same hope to the world, where so much work remains. His legacy and story is an imperative tool that raises awareness about the community's collective struggle, and it is a global struggle, as I know firsthand from my diplomatic work. Today, we will all have the U.S. Navy as an educational partner in spreading Harvey's story and hope every time the USNS Harvey Milk enters a new port of call. One of Harvey's core messages, of course, was visibility. And 38 years ago, he said, "You must come out. Come out to your parents. I know that it's hard and will hurt them, but think about how they will hurt you in the voting booth. Come out to your relatives. Come out to your friends, if indeed they are your friends. And come out to your neighbors, to your fellow workers, to the people who work where you eat and shop, and once and for all break down the myths, destroy the lies and distortions." Well, today is a great day for that visibility, because few things are as visible as a huge Navy ship emblazoned with Harvey's name. Imagine this ship pulling into a port somewhere in the world where members of the community are still marginalized, minimized, and persecuted. Wow. What a statement that the United States of America military celebrates its diversity and is proud to put the name of an out and proud gay man on one of its ships. It is my honor to now close the USNS Harvey Milk naming ceremony by the Secretary, as we know this good ship and all the brave men and women who will stand on her decks will be spreading the very American belief in equality for all. There is much more work to be done to ensure that this community is endowed with the same rights as all humans across the globe. And my own son, who works tirelessly for the cause, helps me believe that we will someday bring about real change in the world for justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you, Ambassador Brinker. Ladies and gentlemen, one final time, the San Francisco Gay Men's Chorus.